Alison stood at the edge of the bustling sidewalk, her gaze fixed on the ever-moving waves of people, cars, and flashing billboards. The urban cityscape, with its towering skyscrapers and rhythmic chaos, was supposed to be the land of opportunity, the place where dreams come true. But for Alison, a 24-year-old fresh graduate, it often felt more like a labyrinth of disappointments. Her dream of becoming a writer seemed to grow fainter with each rejection email, and the weight of unpaid bills and endless job applications made the city's lights seem dimmer than they should. Alison had moved to the city with wide-eyed optimism, armed with a degree in English literature and a handful of writing samples she had poured her soul into. But reality hit hard. Every job application felt like shouting into a void, and the competition was fierce. The days blended into each other as she scrolled through job boards in the morning, attended fruitless interviews in the afternoon, and cried herself to sleep at night. Her tiny apartment felt like a cage, and the city she once loved began to feel like a monster that devoured hope. One dreary afternoon, while nursing a cold coffee in a crowded cafe, Alison overheard a conversation between two strangers. One of them, a middle-aged man with a weathered face, said, "Happiness isn't something you find, it's something you make." Alison froze, the words echoing in her mind. Could happiness really be something within her control? Could she craft her own joy in the midst of rejection and uncertainty? The next day, Alison decided to step out of her comfort zone. Instead of diving into job applications, she spent the morning exploring her neighborhood. She wandered through a park she had never noticed before, its greenery offering a stark contrast to the gray concrete jungle around it. She watched children laughing on swings, couples strolling hand in hand, and an elderly man feeding pigeons. A small smile tugged at her lips. These were moments of happiness, seemingly untainted by ambition or achievement. That evening, Alison attended a poetry reading at a local bookstore, a place she had always walked past, but never entered. The room was filled with people from all walks of life, their faces lit with excitement and vulnerability. When it was time for the open mic, Alison hesitated but eventually stepped up. Her voice shook as she read one of her poems about loneliness and hope, but the applause that followed was genuine and warm. It was the first time in months she felt seen. In the weeks that followed, Alison began to view her city differently. She started volunteering at a community center, teaching creative writing to teenagers. Their enthusiasm and raw talent reignited her passion for storytelling. She began writing again, not for job applications, but for herself. She submitted short stories to literary magazines and found joy in the process, regardless of whether they were accepted or rejected. Alison also began to nurture her relationships. She reached out to old friends and made an effort to meet new ones. The city, once a lonely and overwhelming place, began to feel like a network of connections. She found solace in small acts of kindness, a compliment to a barista, a smile for a stranger, and realized these moments of positivity were as fulfilling as any professional achievement. Happiness, Alison learned, wasn't waiting for her at the end of a successful career, or in the approval of others. It was in the little things. The sound of rain against her window, the scent of freshly baked bread from the bakery down the street, the satisfaction of crafting a sentence that felt just right. The city, in its chaotic and indifferent way, had been teaching her all along. It whispered its wisdom in the laughter of strangers, the colors of street art, and the quiet resilience of its people. Alison still didn't have her dream job, but she no longer felt crushed by its absence. She found part-time work at a local library, surrounded by the books she loved. Her evenings were filled with writing, teaching, and connecting with others. The skyscrapers no longer loomed ominously. They stood tall as reminders of possibility and resilience. Happiness, she realized, wasn't a destination but a way of traveling. And as she walked through the city streets, her heart lighter and her steps surer, she knew she was finally on her way.